it all started, the three of us who were history buffs were talking, and this was probably close to 25 years ago. There was myself, Gil Merriam, and Terry Economy. Gil Merriam was a retired college professor with a PhD in history. Terry Economy ran the local radio station for 30 years. One of us mentioned, wouldn't this be great if we had these video cameras 100 or 150 years ago, because nobody knows what Abraham Lincoln's voice sounds like or his gestures. There's no video of that. And so it occurred to us that at that time there were still people who had some interesting stories to tell firsthand. And up until that time, they were mostly passed down stories who get changed over the years. And so this was an opportunity for us to start recording people on local history. I have probably produced close to 140 local interviews. Well, I first became aware of Virginia Oliver through the Rockland Historical Society. I'm on the board of directors, and the late John Ware had mentioned to Ann Morris, the curator at the Rockland Historical Society, that there was this lady in her 90s that lived down to the south end of Rockland, and she was a licensed lobster fisherman and was going out lobstering at least 3 times a week with her son Max. So Ann came to me and said, Wayne, you should do a interview with her on camera. So I went down and visited with her and had a chat with her and got acquainted with her, and made an appointment for her to come to my house and set for an interview. And in the meantime, I often talk with a good friend of mine, Dale Shearholt, and we swap stories. He asks what I'm doing, and I asked what he's doing, and I told him that I was, in fact, it was the next day I was going to start filming this elderly lady in her 90s. In fact, she was 99 years old at the time, that goes out lobstering 3 or 4 times a week. And Dale said, mind if I tag along? And I certainly welcomed his assistance and input, because he's an excellent documentarian filmmaker. I think it was about 5:30 in the morning. It was before daylight. Went down to Spruce Head where the Olivers tie their boat up, and we went out lobstering on their boat with them.
Hi, Virginia.
And we got some very good film. I took a lot of film on the water going out, and it's really the prettiest time of the day.
Give them hell, Virginia!
Everyone knows you. Well, you've been here a while.
It was just going to be a routine documentary that would be interesting to local people, Rockland people, and it would be part of the Rockland Historical Society archives, and that was it.
We're both licensed, and I have 200 traps of my own. My son has, probably a little over 200.
Morning, Virginia.
Channel 6 called me on a completely different subject. They were doing a commemorative piece on Shakespeare, anniversary piece. And they originally contacted the Historical Society here in Rockland because they wanted information on Gertrude Elliott, who is a Shakespearean actress. I was familiar with the Elliott sisters. There's two of them. So I thought after the Zoom interview that I did with the noontime Channel 6 News that they might be interested in the project that we did on Virginia, because we had just finished it up. So I sent him a link to it. Later that afternoon, I got an email from Beth McAvoy, who is a reporter for 207, and she said she'd been trying to hook up with Virginia for over a year. So I said, if you're interested in doing a program with her, I think I can arrange it for you. And she said, well, I'd really appreciate it if you could. So I talked with Virginia and her son Max, and Virginia said to me, she says, sure, I'll do a program with Channel 6. So Beth made arrangements to stay at a local motel, and I picked her up at about 5:30 in the morning, and we went down to Spruce Head, and we went out on a regular lobster harvesting trip. And then on the way in, she said she'd like to interview Virginia. So I says, well, all right, we'll pick a float there in Spruce Head Harbor, and we'll set Virginia down, and you can interview her. It'll be a nice scene because there'll be water and lobster boats in the background. So she probably might have thought I was sort of bossy, but I just showed her the way that I would have done it. And she got some good footage and a good interview out of that. And Beth called me several times while she was putting the program together and asked if, is this true and is this right? And they ended up with a program that ran over 6 minutes, which is pretty good for a news program.
Virginia Oliver has spent more than a century working on and living close by the water. It's what she knows best and where she feels most at home.
Oh my gosh.
Virginia says she eats lobster at least once a week during the summer. She's something of a classicist. She likes a lobster roll, grilled bun, a little mayo, and nothing else.
These networks, I think, sort of, shall I say, spy on the local channels to see what's going on. I think that CBS, their producer, somehow saw or found out about Virginia through the program that Beth did. And so they contacted us, and they wanted to come up and do a program.
Steve Hartman now, with a lobster tale.
At 78, Max Oliver is an old salt. But to his crewmate on this lobster boat, Max is but a child. Her child. Virginia Oliver is 101, Maine's oldest lobster fisherman.
The Olivers didn't want anybody filming inside their house or around their house. And so I mentioned this to Steve Hartman. I says, we'll find you a place to do the interview. Steve says, I wonder if the neighbor across the street would allow us to do an interview on their porch. And so he knocked on the door, and they said, sure, you can do a program here. You'd have more room and be better if you did it on our patio out back. So we looked that over, and that was excellent area to do it. So that's where Steve did his interview. He also went out. I made arrangements with Max to go on the Lobster boat. So he went out on the boat, both him and his cameraman, and they got some good footage. The one that Steve Hartman did showed both Friday night and Sunday on the Sunday morning news.
Okay. So let's say he didn't want to go out one day. He's too tired. No?
No, I wouldn't put up that stuff.
Virginia says she expects nothing of her son that she wouldn't do herself. Unfortunately for her son.
How many days have you called in sick in the last year?
No.
Channel 6 has done, I bet you, at least 3, if not more, stories on her, which is unusual.
Finally, Virginia Oliver may be the oldest lobster woman in the world.
We met her earlier this summer off the coast of Rockland, where she has lived her entire life.
I'm 101. My husband always said, well, she's the boss. And I said, might as well be me as you.
The first few people that contacted me was probably referred to me. They would contact the Rockland Historical Society, or they might even contact the local media. I asked when the producer called me, I said, how'd you know how to contact me? He says, through our affiliate in Boston.
Rockland native Wayne Gray is a former Maine state legislator turned documentarian. In 2020, Gray and his colleague, Dale Shearholt, debuted a film about Virginia.
She's the oldest licensed lobsterman, certainly in Maine and maybe the world. The film, to our surprise, went viral.
He said, you the lobster lady? And I said, well, I guess so.
National, even international outlets picked up her story.
She's probably been the best PR person this place has had.
If they went to Virginia or Max directly, they would then refer them to me, and they told them that Wayne Gray was coordinating it. Yeah, and others mentioned that, took that for granted in the community. Somebody said, well, contact Wayne Gray because I guess he's the agent for the Olivers. So I sort of inherited that unintended, but I inherited that moniker, I guess. I work at the polls on Election Day, and there's a retired school teacher who lives here on the street. And when he came in to vote, he says, Wayne, he says, I was up in Alberta, Canada, checked into my hotel, went up to my room, turned the TV on, and there was you and Virginia on television. I remember of doing the interview with Canadian TV, also did a Zoom interview with MAGA TV station in Athens, Greece. And of course there was a German television company that came here and spent several days filming.
Stellt sicher, dass Fischer nicht so viele Hummer aus dem Meer holen und der Bestand auf Jahrzehnte erhalten bleibt.
So that turned out to be quite an event. I was getting from various networks. I was getting several calls a day. Each one surprised me more because you watch these people in your living room, and you never expect they're going to show up at your house and want you to help them make arrangements to do a program. So it's both flattering and nerve-wracking. NBC contacted me and wanted to do a story on Virginia. And Max was in the process of installing a new diesel engine in his boat, and so his boat was dry docked. I explained this to the producer on NBC, and I'm not sure whether he believed me or not, but anyway, because he kept calling. Sometimes he'd call twice a day. You know, when they get a story they want to do, they're bound to do it if they think it's going to be a good story. Far be it for me to tell NBC how to produce their programs, but I just felt that it wouldn't be worth that trip. So I suggested, I says, why don't you wait until this was in July, why don't you wait till the Rockland Lobster Festival? She's going to be in the parade, and you can do some man-on-the-street interviews. And he said, now you're talking. Okay, he says, what's your address? So they worked out of my house for a couple of days. Who is the on-air person, was going to ride in the vehicle with Virginia. And at the last minute, just before the vehicle took off, Kathy came to me and she says, we want you to ride in the automobile with Virginia. Parade was beginning to start, and so put me in a position where I couldn't decline, and so that's how I ended up riding in the parade with Virginia. It was the last thing I wanted to do. I much prefer to stay in the background behind the camera.
That grit grabbing national attention and turning heads in town.
To get up and go like she does is amazing.
adoring fans hooked as she recently made her way down Main Street for the annual Lobster Festival parade in Rockland.
She's the salt of the earth. Fabulous. 102. She can't beat it. She's our staple in our area.
Tackling more than a century of living.
Is your arm getting tired?
Showing us that a long life can be what it's cracked up to be. For today, Kathy Park, NBC News, Rockland, Maine.
You know, I figured the Olivers did me a favor by letting me do a program with them. I sort of felt I wanted to do what I could for Virginia and Max, because I know that they would have been overwhelmed when these networks started calling them.
At 102 years old, Virginia Oliver is the oldest licensed lobster trapper in the state and perhaps the world.
This is all I've ever done.
Working 3 days a week, she's earned the unofficial title of Lobster Lady.
What do you think about that nickname?
Well, that's what they call me, so I guess that's what I'm gonna be. I'm pretty independent.
And now we know the secrets to longevity. Keep moving. And lobster.
Lobster's one of my favorite foods, by the way, so I'm excited about that. But I love her sharp wit, and I love what she says. Don't slow down.
Don't slow down.
Keep going. What a legend. All right,
Love
awesome.
Later this month, at the age of 103, Virginia will begin her 95th lobstering season. There's a children's book now, and she's gained some celebrity. But Virginia remains the same humble lobster woman.
Always on the go. Perhaps that's her secret.
Gotta keep moving.
And Virginia still drives her pickup truck to get groceries, or just as she says, to get out of the house for a bit. Unbelievable.
She's amazing.
And so I really enjoyed working with these people that I had only known from watching them on TV.